Tension in a team makes everyone uncomfortable. So how do we fix it? As leaders in education, we need to recognize that there are conflicts in the workplace, and they are a common occurrence. It's our responsibility to address these conflicts in a productive and respectful manner without resorting to drastic measures like firing or punishment. Caveat here. Sometimes, with no amount of coaching or coddling, you cannot change people's behavior. Poisonous people will poison your team. Cutting them loose is not a weakness. I will say that again. Cutting loose poisonous people is not a weakness. You need to protect the rest of your team. This is part of leadership where we need to learn when someone can be coached and when they cannot. When my kids were little, we did an experiment on how a bad apple could change or spoil the whole bag, right? So I don't even remember what we were doing that I brought it up, but we did this. We actually took an apple, we bruised the apple, and we put it in a bag with other apples. And I think we actually even sealed it in a bag. And then we put that apple under the sink in a nice, warm, humid environment. And as we all know, that one bad apple spoiled the entire bag of apples. And the illustration is that, you got a poisonous people in your team, it's going to spread. It's going to be a problem. So sometimes you just got to let them go. So one of the things that you can do when we talk about this is the difference between coaching your team and coddling your team. So we're going to explore the benefits of coaching and how openness and reassignment can be effective strategies for dealing with conflicts for those that are teachable, right? So coaching your team is one of the most effective ways to deal with conflicts after the fact. It happened. We know it happened. Now let's talk about what happened. For those that are coachable, instead of pushing their mistakes, you use that conflict as an opportunity to help them grow. So a perfect example I have of this one is I run a teletherapy company, and we contract with multiple schools to provide therapy services. And inevitably, at least once a year, we'll have a complaint about one of our therapists. A lot of times it will be a mom that mistook or took out of context what a therapist said, and they're mad. They're just mad. So they don't come to us as a therapy company. They go to the case manager and to the school and say, such and such therapist said this, and just they're angry. There's no, and so then the school comes to us and says, hey, what happened? And sometimes it isn't in a meeting or anything. It may have just been in a session, in a therapy session. So the school has no other recourse than to say, hey, your therapist said this. I go to my therapist and I tell them exactly what was said and get their perspective of what's going on. And usually, mom took it out of context, or the therapist didn't communicate it well. And that's a teachable moment for my therapist to say, hey, there's a better way. You probably could have said that. But either way, I'm being given an opportunity to help them to become a better therapist. I'm not going to immediately fire them because a mom is unhappy with me, but I will go back to the school and say, here's what their perspective is. And then we will decide together as a team, do we want to try to repair that relationship? Because sometimes you can't. Sometimes when a mom is upset or somebody is upset and those claws come out, there is nothing that therapist is going to be able to do to change that situation. So we're going to reassign. So taking them out of that situation and putting another therapist in there a lot of times will make that situation a better situation for both parties involved. Sometimes in those situations too, the therapist will come back to me before the school even comes and is like, I don't think mom was happy. Here's what happened. I love it when the therapists do that because then I know that they get it. They understand that something happened and that there may have been a break in that communication and we need to fix it. So how do you build open communication? Openness breeds openness. Create an open and transparent environment for your team. This allows your team members to feel comfortable, to be open back, and to be honest with you and with others. Always punishing people for their mistakes results in defensive people. It closes everything off. They shut down. No one feels safe to communicate. They're constantly in fear of reprising from you or if I say something to that person, it's going to get back to that person. So I don't want to say anything. And I've been there. I've been in toxic environments. I've been in positions where I didn't have any control. And I just knew that if I said something, it was not going to be good. And really, it stagnates the growth of your team. So what you want to do is you want to approach conflicts with openness and transparency, creating an environment where team members feel comfortable, where they share their ideas. We actually even have an SLP group where they can chat, and we have an OT group where they can chat, share ideas, concepts, and whatever. We even say there's no such thing as a stupid question. The only stupid question is the one that you don't ask. So ask the question, share your thoughts, share your ideas, take risks. It helps your team grow, and they learn from their mistakes. I'll tell you, when that therapist said that thing and I had to coach them, they never made that mistake again. Sometimes you will have to reorganize your team. Like what I said, that therapist isn't going to work well with this mom anymore. That doesn't mean that I took them completely out. I just removed them from that situation. When you have a conflict that arises and you address it with your team, you also need to be respectful and understanding. Immediate reprisals can be short-sighted and your team shuts down. Conflicts can be emotional and personal. Team members can feel hurt and offended. You need to approach these kind of conflicts with empathy, with understanding, with active willingness to listen and to learn from others. Sometimes people, like I said, can be oil and water. Just because two people don't get along doesn't necessarily mean that either one of them is poisonous or toxic. It could just be that they have such differences of opinions that having them work together just is a recipe for disaster. Sometimes all you need to do is change the players. It's not the bad apple. It's just, we're going to put this person over on this team and we're going to put this person over on this team. And then you've reduced the tension. And that change is palpable. You can feel it. When people are feeling like they can't give you the best because they're afraid of what someone's going to say or what the results are going to be, the team feels that. At the end of the day, we all know conflicts are inevitable. Every workplace, every setting has conflicts. You need to approach those conflicts with openness, empathy, and a willingness to learn and grow. Reassigning, removing, and changing players is a much better way to deal with conflicts after the fact, and it helps us to have a more productive and understanding situation with our team. These are key things that I want you to take away from this video and see if you can help your team to grow and be the team that you really want them to be. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What are some ways that you've eased tensions after the fact? Let me know in the comments below. To see more videos like this, visit our free resource library at lighthouse-therapy.com. Thank you and have a blessed day.